Hey everybody, welcome to this week's live stream. I hope you're all doing great today. So we are going to test out Eye Candy's epoxy. Now, right off the bat, I want to make sure everybody knows I just bought this stuff myself. I actually bought it to test something out for my own purposes. This has no, like, Eye Candy is not sponsoring this. I have no affiliate codes. I am going to give you an affiliate code, but it's actually Jake's for Eye Candy. So just to make sure, we're just playing around, trying something new, and I thought it'd be kind of a good, I don't know, something good to kind of cover, because basically I cover Alumilite Clear Slow for the most part, and epoxies work a little bit differently. You got different time limits usually. They're longer working times, longer in the pressure pot. This one's significantly thicker. So, there's some differences, and frankly, I don't know. I don't really care. Epoxy to epoxy, they all kind of typically work the same. However, I do want to say, the one that I picked up, Eye Candy's got, and most every other company's got a bunch of different types of epoxies. What I've got is tabletop, okay? And that's usually the thick as molasses ones. It's technically meant to be poured kind of thin and like cover a table maybe or something like that. It's really not like, river table kind of stuff. Those are usually called like a deep pour or something like that. And those are meant to be poured thick. Okay, now I'm making pen blanks. I've had plenty of success using like a tabletop epoxy, even though they say you can't pour it bigger than 1/4 inch. It's gonna probably be just fine for pen blanks. In fact, I've already poured some, they're fine. So you can get away with like a pen blank size, but I would even kind of caution you, some of these tabletop epoxies, even if you're doing, I don't have my big ones, but like even if you're doing like a stopper type size, something like this, or like a 2-inch pipe, maybe 1.5, you gotta be a little bit cautious. You may get overheating. So these are definitely things, you gotta kind of read the directions and all that kind of stuff. If you get too big, they don't really work too well. They're going to overheat. But for pen blanks, you should be fine. Probably if you're only pouring like 1 inch deep, this would probably, like if you had a square mold, probably be okay, but you're definitely okay for singles. If you're just pouring like, 3/4 inch pen blanks or whatever. Now, Eye Candy does have like a deep pour. They've got a couple different, kind of interesting. They came out with lineup. They've got, I don't know, they've got like different, I don't exactly know what the difference is with some of these. They've got 4 new ones, and they were selling something called Promise Epoxy. I don't know anything about that. This is actually their Eye Candy brand. They've got one that's called a 1-hour fast cure. I'm guessing that's for like tumblers. That's just my guess. I don't know. They got another one that's called 24-hour fast cure, deep pour. I don't know what that is. They've got deep pour, and then they've got tabletop. So this tabletop would be like from like an Alumilite brand type thing. It'd be like Amazing Clearcast or ACC Plus, something like that. Probably similar. I don't know what the names are, but Total Boat, whatever their regular epoxy, is, that's what it would be, like that. Stone Coat's got, there's 1,000 of them. It's the ones that are meant for like kind of table toppers, topping a table, not pouring in an entire table. That would be called a deep pour. So anyway, I just thought let's play with it. One of the advantages, the reason that I picked it up is it's thick. Thick, okay. And one of the advantages to having that is you could reduce the amount of bleed possibly while you're pouring. It's not going to splash out as much. It's going to kind of hold true, and it does work pretty decent. I poured some blanks. I'm very lightly considering pouring my team color blanks with this stuff or something like it. And I just thought, hey, whatever, they're all kind of similar. But I got pretty good results. I poured this one. Looks fine. And I just poured it immediately. That was what I was kind of interested in. I don't want to sit and wait like 30 or 40 minutes for it to like start getting thicker. It's already thick. So I was trying to see if I could just mix it up, pour it and you kind of minimize bleeding, you know. And it seemed to work okay. So what we're going to do today is we're going to try some things out. One of the things that I'd like to see, I've got glow powder. That stuff's heavy. So this is another thing that I don't know what the answer is going to be to this. But if you've got heavy stuff, like glow powder, is it still going to sink? I would kind of imagine it will, because again, we're going to just mix it up and pour it pretty much. But I am going to mix basically 2 batches. And we're just going to kind of do an immediate pour on one and then just kind of let the other one sit until we're ready, and kind of check temperatures and all that kind of stuff. But one of the things you have to think about is there's 2 reasons that we wait for a specific temperature with Alumilite Clear Slow. One, it's thickening up. As it starts to get to the point where it's going to harden, it's thicker, so it pours better. But the problem is you've only got some window of time to pour, to get to, before it starts getting so thick you can't even pour it, and the pressure's not going to get rid of the bubbles. The other reason is you're also just closer to the point where it's hard. Like it's not gonna, there's nothing that's going to move or sink or do anything. And so if you're going to do this with an epoxy that's got like a 30 or 40 minute working time, it's not, even if it is super thick, it's still not going to alleviate the fact that, it's still not setting up. So if you just pour, like something really heavy like glow powder in, I'm guessing it's still just going to pretty much sink to the bottom. Because it's going to sit there. If you pour it right away, it's just going to be sitting there. And if it's heavier than the thickness, so like it has to do with the specific gravity of the 2 different things. I'm guessing it's going to be a higher specific gravity than the resin is, and it's still just going to sink. So, now you could wait and try, and I have no clue what like the temperature numbers or, any of that kind of stuff is for this resin. And frankly, I don't really care, because I'm not willing to wait like 30 or 40 minutes for the perfect temperature for this kind of thing. I'd much rather just use Alumilite for that type of thing. So anyway, a couple different things that we're gonna, have fun with, and it should be kind of cool. So let's see, I'm gonna scroll up real quick. It looks like Chris doesn't have to work on Saturdays for a while. That's good. Nice. And I got this. So if anybody is not familiar with Joe Scott, he does like kind of sciencey. I mean, he's not really an expert in anything. He's just a guy, but he like digs into different kind of sciencey things, EV cars and random, I don't know, all kinds of random stuff. It's a really cool channel. He made these t-shirts, and I watch his videos. He made these t-shirts, and I was like, pressure changes everything. That's like perfect for resin casting. So I'm going to give you guys a link to Joe Scott, his channel. If you're interested in checking out his, what he's got, whatever, if you're interested in those kind of, random, interesting topics kind of thing. But if you want to pick up a shirt, I don't know where he sells these shirts. I'm going to have to, here's a link to his channel. I might have to wait and put a link in the description. Let's see here. Let me see if there's a link to something. Yeah, nope, that doesn't. Okay, so I don't know where it might have been in. Let me look, hold on real quick. Let me see if it was in one of his recent videos. T-shirts, there it is, Laugh Smarter. Okay, so I got a link to the t-shirts also directly, if anybody's interested. I just thought it was perfect, so I bought one. All right, let's see. I think there was a question somewhere. Popcorn in hand, nice. Harold had a question. What do you think using this? I would not use a thick resin for label casting. It's going to be a nightmare. The best one that I know of for labels is liquid diamonds. It's got that long. I like the longer working time aspect of it, but the thickness, it's terrible because it's going to trap a ton of bubbles, especially if you're doing the labels like in the, like this one, like the P-Town ones. So like the tube is sitting horizontal to this, right? So there are ones that are like vertical stacked. But if you're using something like this stuff, I'm not joking. It is like molasses. Like it's gonna get air bubbles trapped under, and a lot of times the pressure pot, for some reason, has trouble with that kind of stuff. So what I would recommend is go with liquid diamonds, and I don't recommend using Alumilite Clear for this. It just, exactly why? I'm trying to think why. There's other options. Like I'd rather actually have longer amount of time in a thin resin. You can mix up a ton of it and then wait for the bubbles in the cup to kind of go away, most of the big ones, then pour it very lightly and cover it. I think it's a better way to go. And I'm trying to think, I haven't dealt with label blanks. There's a reason I think that the urethane tends to not want to stick to the tube as well. I think is the problem, like to the label and all that stuff. It's pretty smooth, and I have the same issue with like a really smooth piece of wood. I don't really like using Alumilite Clear if I'm doing a burl that's like kind of a smooth cap. You get these like silver blob things that are indicative of like it's not really adhering that well, and I've never had that problem with epoxy. It operates differently somehow. So liquid diamonds is my go-to for that. It's super thin. Like, I mean, it's like the same thin, viscosity as like Alumilite Clear. It might even be thinner, possibly. And it just works great. You got like 30 minutes. It's dead clear. It's possibly clearer than Alumilite Clear or Clear Slow. Very good. So that's what I would recommend for that kind of stuff. Jake's in the house. What's up, man? And yeah, that's another thing is how is it going to turn? I'm pretty sure it's not going to be brittle. We'll see. I turned something, but I turned it right away because those samples that I showed you. But it could be a little bit more like chippy. It's not going to be brittle. The only thing that's like brittle, there are some epoxies, but I'm guessing this probably is not going to be that way. What I find, I prefer urethane for turning like Alumilite. I guess I prefer Alumilite because there's other urethanes that I'm not like a super big fan of that I've turned. Epoxies tend to be stringier a little bit. They're usually behave pretty well, most of them, but they can be like stringier with like the ribbons and get really caught up, and you got to like rip them off, and it's a little bit more messy, I find. The other thing that I find with epoxies is I think they tend to be less heat resistant. And like for me, I was telling you guys last week, my headstock gets pretty hot like right now. They always do for some reason. Plus it's hot in the shop. And if you warm up the epoxy, it can get pretty bendy, let's say. So that can be a problem, which I don't really find so much with urethanes. They tend to stay harder, or they have a higher heat deflection usually, I guess, is maybe what it is. So, yeah, with something clear, I don't care, there's no color separation. Liquid diamonds does pretty well for color swirl type things, but you have to wait till the end of the working time. And there's been a lot of people that have used it in the past, and they know the numbers and all that kind of stuff for temperatures, but it's like I said, you're going to be waiting like 30 minutes probably. It depends on the temperature in your shop, how quickly it's going to set up or whatever, but it's doable, and it does pretty well keeping things separate, but you got to wait till it starts to thicken up a little bit. Let's see here. Okay, so I think that's it. So a couple things also. Last time we mixed, I was going to try to do this, and I was like, oh, the battery doesn't work. Well, you got to hold the power button. Like it actually had full power. So we're actually going to try this. I'm just going to get one cup going, and we're just going to let it mix itself kind of thing. But again, because this stuff is so thick, I'm also going to use a mixing, like a paddle mixer in the other cup as well. Is this thing? Yeah, that should work. So here's the game plan. One of the, so like I said, there's aspects of casting that we're playing with. How does the casting stuff work? But then, the other aspect is the turning and all that kind of stuff. Like, how does the material work once it's, set up? So one of the things that I wanted to do was, let's make some tall blanks also. I'm going to do we're going to do a short guy with the beast. But we're also going to do some tall ones, and we're going to eventually, I don't know if this is going to happen right away, but we're going to turn a bespoke pen also, because how does it thread? How does it turn when it's on the lathe and it has less support? It's not glued to a tube. So we'll have a couple of tests to do. Now, one thing before we even begin, I also need to mention, so next Saturday, I will not be doing a stream. However, and that's because I have a family thing going on Saturday. But on Wednesday, Chad and Amy are going to be here, and we're going to be doing the live stream on their channel from my shop. Okay, so not my channel. There's not going to be a broadcast going through my channel. It's going to be on the Turner's TV channel. We're going to set it up and run it through their YouTube channel. I'm guessing now, one of the problems is we're only going to have like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 4 days for this stuff to cure. A lot of times these epoxies, it really takes the full 7 days for it to get fully hardened. So I'm not sure if turning one of these things, we might do that. We might just cast something. I'm not sure what we're going to do exactly. But if we do turn a pen from this batch, it may be a little bit on the softer side than it would have been if we let it fully cure. 4 days is pretty good, so I don't know. It should be a decent, test, but just to let you know. And then actually, I think the next week I might actually, let me look at the calendar, because I got another family thing going on the next Saturday, so we might have to, I don't know that I'm going to just not do anything, but yeah. Okay, so yeah, I think I'm going to have to move the stream to maybe Sunday or something. I'll let you guys kind of know what's going on. I'll try and put a message somewhere like on Instagram or YouTube to let you guys know. But I have a project that I need to get done. I have a limited time to get it done for my parents. And so there's all kinds of stuff going on right now. But next week, Wednesday is going to be the day on Turner's Warehouse. And I think it's like at 3... I don't know what time it is. Turner's TV, YouTube. Let me see, because they already got it like set up. 4:00 p.m. Pacific time. Okay. Yeah, because we're the same as Arizona right now. So, anyway, we got all kinds of stuff going on. Let's start making some blanks here. So like I said, I'm going to mix up everything all at once. Now, another advantage to this is because you've got a ton of time, and if it doesn't really bleed, like you can literally just pour it right away. Like you could, this is one of the other big reasons why I'm thinking about possibly switching to something else for the team color blanks, because I may be able to get like 3 of these things poured all at once. Like that is significant if you could do that much. That many blanks. Now that's a lot of resin too, so I'm not always a huge fan of having buckets of resin sitting around, but but like it could be useful. You can get more done in less time, kind of thing. But the drawback is these epoxies, like I said, you have a longer working time. Usually, I think this stuff has about a 30 to 40 minute. I don't know if they say on here. Let me see here. It's got to be in here somewhere. Seal coat, storing, removing, curing times. Working time, yeah, so 30 to 40 minutes. And then it says full cure is reached in about 72 hours, which that surprises me kind of. Cooler temperatures may extend the working time and curing time. So you're looking at like 30 to 40 minutes. It's pretty warm in my shop. It's 80 today, so maybe more on the 30-minute side is really until when it's going to start really setting up. But for me, I think you're going to want to leave this kind of thing in the pressure pot for like like really realistically, just put it in and leave it in overnight. I think you're better off doing it that way. It's going to be harder, you know, like firmer when you try and demold it, which should make it demold a little easier. But you're just guaranteed, like it's minimum like an 8-hour kind of thing with these types of resins. So why not just do it overnight? Make sure. One of the other drawbacks to epoxies, typically, and this isn't a blanket statement, but in my experience, epoxies are harder on molds. They wear them out quicker, and it doesn't matter if it's silicone or HDPE or PVC or whatever. And part of the reason for that, excuse me, for that is I think it gets hotter is one of the reasons hotter than like clear slow, for instance. That doesn't really get super, super hot. Some of these tabletop epoxies can get really hot. Hence, they overheat sometimes if you've got too much of it. So just keep that in mind. It may have an effect on your molds. It may shorten their life a little bit. It may make them harder to demold. Also, they tend to stick to molds better, you know, like more. So between that heat and something about it, it really likes to grab onto other materials, even if it's non-stick. So just wanted to mention that before you go running out and buying, you know, some epoxy or something like that. Let's see here. I might die first. That's funny, Jake. So again, and actually, just to let you guys know, again, this is not sponsored. iCandy has no clue that I'm doing this. I bought this stuff with my own money just to try it out. If you do purchase stuff, you can use Jake's code with iCandy, and it's Jake15. But the epoxy's on sale, and it's a pretty good price anyway. That's another reason why why I specifically chose this, like out of all the epoxies on the planet. This was new, and they had pretty good prices on this stuff, and I was like, well, let me try it, you know, whatever kind of thing. So the prices are pretty reasonable, like compared to ACC Plus, which is what I usually would use. I think that stuff's about $200 for 2 gallons. This is, let's see what the tabletop, I bought just the 1 gallon kit, I think it is what it's called. Yeah, but I mean, their 2 gallon kit for this iCandy stuff is 140 normally, but it's right now it's 110. I mean, we're talking, let me double check and make sure that I'm not lying. And I'm not slamming Alumilite. I like their products too, like the Amazing Clearcast, but I want to say that it is amazing. Oh, come on. Not urethane, so on epoxy. Amazing. I'm going to look at their regular, I don't like their Amazing Clearcast, the non, so like as opposed to Amazing Clearcast Plus. I think that stuff turns way better than just the regular Amazing Clearcast. So just to let you know, so I'm going to compare this to their Plus version. It's the UV resistant one, but it's better, I find. So they're 2 gallon. Yeah. So 2 gallons of ACC Plus is $205. So, I mean, we're literally talking about half the price. So that's not bad. Now, again, I don't know how it turns. So that's the big question. ACC Plus turns excellent. It's a pretty good one. Very similar to, in general, very similar to Clear Slow. All right, so let's get things rolling here. I'll stop talking. Yeah, go and help Jake out. I think, now I don't know if you can get his discount on, I don't know if it'll give you a discount on top of the sale price, but it will be an affiliate sale for Jake. So like Jake will get credit for the, you know, the sale, and he'll get a kickback. Okay. So like I said, there's no sponsorship. They didn't send me free product, and I'm not getting any affiliate money from iCandy at all. There's no affiliation with them whatsoever. Just to let everybody know. I don't care either way, but I just want to, you know, some people get all like, oh, you're doing a test and you're going to have bias. No, I'm not. It's either going to work or not. Let's see, Mike, are you concerned with heat in the beast being... No, not really. I don't know. I'm not really concerned with that. But, you know, the more that you pour at once, the more heat could be generated. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think it's going to be a problem though. It only so far, and like I said, I don't know this resin. I've poured, and it was a pretty small batch, I believe. Well, it was like 8 blanks. How many did I pour at once? Yeah, it must have been 8 blanks. 2, 4, 6, 8. I poured 8 already, and there was absolutely no problem with overheating. So no, I'm really not concerned. Now, one thing about this though, you can't just stick it on the scale. Now, I'm hoping that I want to contact Eye Candy and see if they have a weight measurement for this, because I can't stand using volume. It's so stupid. It's so inaccurate. I mean, these cups are not even technically accurate in the first place. They're not 100% accurate necessarily. It's just printed on here, and it's not like it's calibrated in any way. So you're just, when you're filling your cup, you have to do it by volume, right? So number of ounces or grams or whatever to grams. Now, nicely, it is a 1-to-1, so that makes things a lot easier. A lot of epoxies are like 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 or some weird number. Makes it harder to figure out certain things. But I would much rather just put the stuff on a scale, even if it's a really weird number, because it's probably not going to be like 1-to-1 by weight. That's the thing. I'd have to figure it out, and I don't know if they know that information, but I would prefer to do that because it's very easy to misread your line. When you're pouring this stuff in, don't be looking from above. You need to get literally down to eye level to see where that stuff goes. Because if it's off, it ain't going to be great. You can run into some issues. So we're going to, and I think I know how much resin to mix up for each of these things, but if I overshoot, then I'll just pull out some other mold or something. So we got the resin part A. Again, it's 1-to-1, but I'm getting down to eye level on these things, and helps me a lot if I put a mark where I'm shooting for next to it, just so I don't overshoot or undershoot. There's a lot of little lines on here. I'd rather actually have a different color too, but I don't. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but it is thick. Thick. Now, I think they're deep pour, because you could use the deep pour as well. I think it's going to probably have like a significantly longer working time and like demold time and all that stuff, possibly. I don't know for sure. But I think it's much thinner viscosity, okay? This stuff is kind of meant to like coat the top surface of like tables and stuff, and like very thinly cover things. And it's kind of beneficial for like a table, for this type of product, for like its true intended use. It's kind of a benefit to have a thicker viscosity to start when you're pouring it. It stays in place better, which is beneficial for its normally intended use. But it sucks to mix. Oh, I got to do 2 of these. It sucks to mix. It's just terrible. So I would highly recommend just grab a paddle mixer thing, and go to town that way, because you're not going to want to mix this by hand. So I'm putting about 10 ounces of each. Whoa, watch out. Watch out. We're sneaking up there. I'm not particularly worried. Like most of these volume measured resins have got, they can't be like, you got to get it perfect. Like there's going to be some room for error, because these, it's almost, I don't know, how many grams? Like let's weigh these things. These were both empty, so I'm going to zero this. 389.4. 402, I'm like 20 grams off, which is that's not going to be significant, but I hate the non-exactness of this stuff. I'd rather just have a number, and weigh it personally. All right, so, and then we're going with our part B hardener. This one's a little thinner, so that's kind of nice. Probably could have done this one first in the cup. That's looking pretty good. I think I'm at that line. Now again, I got like 30 minutes of working time, so I'm not in any rush. That's great. A lot of people like these ones because they get really worried about that, you know, even 12 minutes, which is perfectly fine for me. Some people just don't feel comfortable with that. And so, you know, there's no, even though I feel personally there's advantages to using Alumilite Clear Slow. If it's something where like you're freaking out, like you're stressed out while you're doing casting, just get something that's got longer working time. It's going to be fine, you know. Whatever you're comfortable with. There's no perfect resin for everybody. Some people like certain things better. All right, so this thing, am I zoomed out? Let me zoom out. Okay, I guess that's as far as that goes. Okay, so here's how this works. Now this is made by Resiners. They got a couple cool little doohickeys that they sell, so that's fun. So you got to hold the power button. There it goes, 97%, we're good. And then the way this thing works, when you turn it on, it just starts working. It's one of these buttons, not that one. Look at that. Oh, look at it go. Woo! And then, so the way, I'm going to turn this thing off. Oh, it's going backwards now. Stop. How do I stop it? Nope, that's forward and reverse. I got to hold this. Okay, so it's a little learning curve, but you can change the height, but it's a electronic height adjustment thing for this, if you want to do that. But you can just take this little wand thing off, and then you just hold the button, and it's going to start drilling, I think. Okay, I guess it's the middle button. And it just, it's so fun. And you can do this by hand. You don't have to even put it on the stand. You can just stick it in. Oh, that's, see how thick this stuff is? It doesn't even want to do it. The wand is like, no! Why? But it's going. There's 3 speeds. Man, it does not like this resin at all. Oh man. But it'll work. It'll do its job. But you can put it in the little stand thing, I think. Here, that's something. I think should go in there. There we go. And then I can go up and down with this little doohickey, and you can kind of get it down to the bottom. And you can move your cup around a little bit. So I'm just literally going to set this to the side. I really want to, by hand, like scrape the sides and all that stuff, but I'm just going to kind of let this thing work for me for a while. I don't think that just doing that is going to mix it up. I don't care how long it sits there and mixes. It's not going to get the sides and the bottom of the cup. So you're going to have to do some manual, you know, with the little wand thing, I think. But, oh, it looks like this thing's got a timer too. So it only goes for, that's kind of lame. Oh, there's a 4th. Still learning how this thing goes. Oh, there's a 4th thing. There's 4 speeds, so it's doing a little better with the 4th speed. That's good. Uh-oh, I gotta go find my drill. Hold on, guys. It's always a little crazy when I'm doing new things. Where's my drill? Shoot. All right, so here we go. Boom. The only issue, like these paddle mixers, the ones that I linked to before, they don't have a very wide they're pretty small. Like, I think this is much better if you're doing like little cups. The problem is it doesn't really mix the whole thing very well. Like, you really got to move it around and do stuff. Versus like I have wider paddles and they seem to work a little better, but it is nice being silicone. I feel like it really scrapes the edges pretty well, the bottom and all that stuff. But you do have to do a lot more like wrist movement with this thing. So if possible, I would recommend that you have a, oops, shoot. Got to keep turning this thing on and off. I would recommend that you have a pretty light drill. But you can see, I mean, this stuff is like goopy, right? Like, you really, it's not going to be fun to mix this by hand. Now, one thing I'm also noticing, I got to get that other thing on the screen here. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, you can kind of see it, I guess. This thing really, it's mixing pretty well, but it's not like this. I could slow my drill down and it wouldn't be as bad, but it's still going to make a lot of bubbles the way this thing works. And this thing, I mean, it's really not making a lot of bubbles. That is the one thing I will say. Like, this is kind of nice over here. So if you if you have like a drill like this, you can put it on 1 and that'll be better. But really, I think that the way to go, there's another one in here. I really think that these types of like spiral mixing paddles are way better. So I need to look and see if I can find something like that that's in the smaller size for just a drill. Because I think this might do better without just making a lot of bubbles. I don't know. But this little wand thing just keeps shutting off, so that's kind of annoying. I really feel like it needs to go faster. Now, another thing that I actually forgot, and I feel bad, I highly recommend if you're doing drill mixing, put on the eyeglasses for sure. It's really not a bad idea to do it all the time, regardless, but I think it's an absolute must if you're using a powered mixer like this. Okay, so I'm going to let that sit for a second, and then I'm going to... Oh. I don't know what's happening. I want to do a little bit of hand mixing over here. Oh, there's something in my cup. That's interesting. Whoa. Keep a hand on the mixing pad. Otherwise, it just spins around. Ooh. So I want to try and get this thing, get all the edges. It looks like it did pretty good. Like, I'm not seeing a bunch of not a bunch of trails. You can kind of tell when the edges haven't been scraped very well. trying to look. There's, I don't know, I got something in this cup. I don't know what's going on there. But you could even just do this without even moving, just kind of scrape around in there. You definitely want to make sure that you're getting all that scraped up. I'm not really seeing, usually you see these like kind of like wispy trails. Yeah, there are a few. You really, you need to make sure that you're scraping good. Just get it off of the edges is the main thing, and then you can just let this thing kind of go, like it wants to. Kind of put it in the middle, and I can just let that thing go, and I feel pretty confident that everything's going to get mixed up after this round. Whereas with this one, you're kind of doing it as you go anyway, so it usually does a good enough job anyway. Let's give it a couple more seconds here. But you can see, I mean, this thing is like super cloudy. Like there's a ton of air bubbles. All right, I'm just trying to kind of clean that thing off. Set that aside. So, I think this thing's like done. Well, I'll just let it finish its cycle. That's fine. All right, let me stop real quick. The nice thing is, again, I'm not like rushed. Doohickey, I know that's a technical term. Yeah, it is very thick. And like I said, I mean, like most of these tabletop epoxies are gonna be like that. ACC, Amazing Clear Cast and Amazing Clear Cast Plus are very thick. And you can look all these, well, not on every brand, but most of the reputable brands, you can look up and see specifications. And if they don't have them, and it'll be called, you don't need to look up the safety, whatever. It's not the safety things, it's the technical specs is what you need. And you can look up what, and compare different resins before you buy them. Like, I want to say that Alumilite Clear Slow, its viscosity number, I want to say it's something like 400 CPS, whatever that is. And this stuff is like 2,500. Like it's significantly thicker than Alumilite Clear Slow. So that gives you an idea. You can kind of look stuff up and kind of see like what compare things. But I want to say, well, I can look it up real quick. I think they have their data. I'm going to look up the Amazing, or the Eye Candy Deep Pour. I think they have their data. That doesn't tell me. Where did I see that? I'm pretty sure that I saw something. Oh, they got okay, here's a sheet thing maybe. I did look some of this stuff up. Let's see here. Mix ratio. It doesn't say. They do say that it's, so they don't state that number on the technical data sheet, but they do say that there's some encapsulation, deeper pour, stronger air release. There's something low viscosity in the product features. It says low viscosity. So I'm guessing it's a lot thinner viscosity than this other stuff. So anyway, you can look those things up, but what I wanted to do here real quick, I'm just going to take this thing off. I mean, look at the difference between these. Now this appears to be very well mixed. I mean, it's fine, but I mean, so I think it, I mean, obviously it has to do with the speed that it was spinning. I was zipping this one a little bit more, but I do think that the spiral nature of this little wand thing is probably better. So I'm going to look up, see if there's anything on Amazon that has that type of thing for a paddle mixer. You could just stick these, you could probably stick these in a drill. I don't know if they just sell this thing alone. It's a pretty good little paddle. All right, so I'm gonna set this one aside. Okay, we're gonna do this one later, so I don't know. Now is not a great time to start a timer. I should have done that a little while ago, but at least it'll give us some idea of how long this cup has been sitting around to know the working time. Now, a couple things. So we're going to do a glow powder is going to be one of the colors. We're going to use some white dye. That stuff's heavy. We could maybe do glitters. There's some heavier glitters. I don't know. I think we should just throw some colors at this thing and see how it goes, really. Let me find, where are we at here? Lost my stream. There it is. There's the stuff. So let's see here. Yeah, you can vacuum the stuff first. That can get rid of the bubbles. The problem with vacuum is you're not going to vacuum it as it cures. Like that, it doesn't really work that way. You know, you put it in the pressure pot while it's curing, but vacuuming is done before you pour. So for casting, it depends on what you're doing. If you need to pour something out on a table like that or something like that, vacuuming's good. You know, but if you're going to pressurize it for like what we're doing, casting something, pressure's the way to go. But the vacuum step, if it's super terrible, like I could vacuum this and it would get rid of a lot of the bubbles pretty quick. But it's not, I would still pressurize it, you know, for what I'm doing. All right, so let's do the tall boys first, and we'll use the green glow powder. I think that'll be kind of fun. I might do the white in a different one. So we got green glow powder. What else could we put in here? Let's do a couple different colors here. And if you want a super chat, fine, but we're not going to use super chats for colors. Just everybody that's in the chat, just throw out some colors and I'm going to pick what I like. How about that? If you feel generous, that's fine, but you're not, you know, it's not for picking a color. We're just we're opening it up to everybody. And I'm going to start looking at some different colors too to see if like something really stands out that I'm like, oh, you know, that would be good. Okay, nothing's standing out. Velvet purple. Ooh, Yamagata would be pretty cool. Green. Oh yeah, my navy blue, that would be a good one. Chicken egg. So it's green. Having a tough time. Green. Purple would be pretty good. I like the purple. I like the Joker idea. I don't have velvet purple. I've got, actually, a pretty cool purple is this. This is a random one. Pearlex's Reflex Violet is a pretty cool one. It seems to, I don't know, it seems to be a little bit different than other ones. So I got to make some notes here. I should have done that. We're just winging it today, guys. We're just, you know, whatever. Now I can't mess around forever because I do need to get these things poured. There is a time limit. We don't have like hours. So today is 7-11. Number one
Shut up
is
and
going to
take
be
my
the
money.
tall boys. And we're going to do the 6, but I think I'm going to have extras, so I might have to pull out one of the 4 bangers over there. So the 6 one holds about 500 grams. We just did 10 ounces times 2. So we're doing, what else we got here? So green, yellow, pink. Ted covered everything for everybody. Yeah, I appreciate the super chat. Thank you. Yeah, like I was thinking silver might kind of be cool too. Yeah, robin egg and white. Oh, this is tough, guys. This is why I do the super chats, because I'm like, I don't have to think. Let's do purple, and then we'll throw in some robin egg. I think that's fun. It'd be fun to do one of my colors. That one is a heavier one also, so that kind of adds some heaviness. We'll see if it kind of draws it down. So we got purple, green, green glow, which I'm probably going to. So the problem with the glow powder is this is one of those that there's different types of glow powders. This is one that just basically it's going to look just milky and gross. So we need to add some color to this somehow. You can either add mica powder. The problem is the more other color that you add to something like this, the less glow you're going to get. Okay, so one option we could do is we can throw in some fluorescent green, which I think is probably going to be the best option. It's a little bit more on the translucent side compared to like a mica powder. That stuff is going to eventually kind of be opaque and take over that glow. So I want to add that to this. And then let's do the Jungin silver instead of the white. All right. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 colors. I don't know how much resin we're going to end up, because I've got more like 550 maybe. 550 divided by 4. Let's just assume this is, again, because I do things in like weight measurements, everything else in percentages, like I don't really like having volume measurements. It's just silly. So we're looking at about 135 to 140 for each one of these cups. We might be able to actually do 140, I think, in each one. 140, 140, 140. We'll just do equal amounts. Fluorescent green, we'll put in 1 gram plus green glow. We'll put in like a half teaspoon. I don't know. That should be fine. And then we're going to do Jungin at half teaspoon. That's fine. We're doing Reflex Violet, half teaspoon, and we're doing Color Lab Chicken Egg, and we can add probably 1 gram, maybe 1.5. Okay, so I think I'm gonna do 140. We're gonna do these 12-ounce paper cups. Well, this stuff's already getting warm. Dang. I might have wasted that other cup. We'll see how it goes. Around 140. And I'm just going to estimate these guys. I'm going a little higher on these other cups. Being quite a bit thicker, it's also harder to get it all out of the out of the cup. I'm just gonna, that ought to be good. Now I'm gonna go with the green glow powder in the shortest one to maximize how much glow powder we've got. I think I did a half teaspoon is what I wrote. Yeah, so we'll do a half teaspoon. This stuff's gonna be pretty heavy. Half teaspoon, and then we're gonna do 1 gram, I think, of the green glow powder. Or green, I'm sorry, fluorescent green. Let's see here. I think I've got another fluorescent green that is open. Hopefully. Oh, I went a little over. 1.5. Okay, updated that. And then we've got a half teaspoon of the Reflex. Half teaspoon of Jungin. We could probably even get away with I'm gonna try a quarter teaspoon of Jungin actually. That stuff, you really just don't need that much. Let's try a quarter. I think it's gonna be fine. These are the tall boys, so even if it's a little see-through, I'm not particularly worried about that. It's gonna be fine. Easier to deal with. And then chicken egg, we will do 1 to 1.5. I think 1's going to be fine, 1 gram. Oh, we're doing 1.5. Kind of heavy stuff. Okay. Wow, this stuff is warm already. One thing to kind of keep in mind, like it's going to kind of heat up. If it's hot in the shop, it's going to heat up pretty quick. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to be able to get that other one poured at this point. We'll see. It's already been at least like 11 to 15 minutes. So we might be looking at more like a 20-minute working time right now at 80-degree temperature shop. That's plenty. I mean, I'm telling you, Jungin, like you could put, we probably could have put an 1/8 teaspoon in 140 grams. It would have been fine. Opaque, I mean. Whew, this stuff is getting really hot. What is the temperature at? Whew, 146, guys. It's hot. These cups are really hot. Might have to double down on the cups. So one thing to note, I wasn't talking and messing around and doing 2 different, cups and all this stuff. So when I poured these initially, like the other ones, the test that oh man, this stuff is not mixing in. That's a problem. Okay, I got to use the paddle mixer maybe. That helped. Paddle mixers do help with things that don't really want to mix in. All right, so let's get pouring. This Jungin's ready. And I'm just going to willy-nilly this stuff. I'm not even messing around. This looks like it needs to be mixed a little bit more. It's still liquid. I mean, it's hot though. I mean, very hot. I don't really want to grab the cup particularly down where the resin is. Gonna be honest. Then I'm gonna try to just hurry up. We'll just put whatever we can in that other, divide something into like 3 colors. Try to get that other thing done. We'll see how that goes though. Because each one of these things takes time, each pour. I can't just dump them in there. That would be boring. These are pretty blobby. That's one thing that's going to also happen. This stuff's pretty thick. If I wasn't in such a rush, I would probably be doing smaller pours on each pass. Like these are going to kind of be more stacked looking, so I'm probably going to go for what was I saying? Probably going to go for a stir stick on this thing if I can do it. Now, one thing you could do is pour at the same time. So we can just grab 2 cups and kind of go, you know, I think I can maybe get 2 more of these guys. Like 2 cups at a time. Could maybe squish 3 together, possibly, I don't know. It's a little bit harder, but you can basically do this. But the biggest problem I have with doing like more than 1 cup per hand is like the nozzles for like a 3/4 inch hole don't really, you're not hitting the hole. They're not aimed at the hole, you know. This stuff's getting really thick. I think we might have wasted that other cup. Blown pour. I mean, it's getting to the point where like this stuff isn't even really wanting to come out. So the timer's at 16 minutes or so. Yeah, I would say that we've got 20 minutes of working time with this stuff. See if we can get this silver to do anything. Maybe should have just made 1 blank. Problem is, this is so thick at this point that I'm not even sure that I want to use a stir stick. I think I want to just get this stuff in the pressure pot. Man, these are not. I'm going to have to just dump this because I want to make sure that I at least get 1 blank out of this thing. Oh, man. Whew, that's not even moving. So these will be a little tough to get out, but I can do it. It's not going to be that big of a deal. It's getting to the point where it's like literally stringy. So we got to get this thing in the pressure pot. So we'll have to see how this one goes. I think I wasted that other big cup though. I don't think we're getting that. It's probably hardening as we speak. I'm surprised. Figured I had like 30 minutes. Okay. Whew. Okay, so these ones should be fine, I think. I'm not going to rush. I'm pretty sure that other cup is probably like hardening, yep. Because it was one big mass. So unfortunately I wasted some resin, but whatever. At least we learned something, you know? See how gooey they are? When it starts to get to the point where it's literally like taffy. Oh, these sticks are just wrecked. That is trash. Okay. Yeah, that's a good sign that it's over. You lost. I'm gonna get some new gloves. Oh, it got stuck on the paddle mixer. All right, so let's see what you guys think. No, it is not a fun cup at all. It is a not fun cup. Because the problem is, so like I was saying, with these types of things, even though it seems silly, but there is a thermal transfer happening between these things. It's not one solid brick. If we poured this resin into a solid brick like this, which is basically what this cup is, this one, it's going to overheat. Like this stuff is probably going to start smoking while we're standing here. So I don't really want this thing even near me because it's probably going to start smoking. You can't pour a giant chunk like that with this type of resin. And I didn't really think about this, but just leaving it in this cup like that was a really bad idea. Because it's going to heat up faster than if you break it into smaller amounts. So one thing that I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to move this because it's going to overheat, I think. I'm not like breathing the toxic fumes. Now I'm going to get this mixer. I think this thing, I'm just going to, so the one problem is with these, it would be good to have like some sort of like a cup of like, how do you get this out? Just pull? Okay. It'd be nice to have like a cup of, I don't know if I'd want to just submerge this in acetone. I think denatured alcohol might work pretty good, but the idea behind these like silicone mixing paddle things is that it should be easier to just get the stuff off. So you should just, I think the best game plan is to just let it cure and then try and clean it off later. Otherwise you would have to like clean it up, you know, as you're going kind of thing, like before it hardens. So I'm just basically going to set this thing aside on another like silicone platter thing, let it cure, and then we'll have to mix up another batch of resin. Let's see here. Find a spot for that thing. And then I've got my other silicone paddle. Same deal. It should be pretty simple to clean this thing off once it cures. So I'm just going to set that aside on a silicone little mat thing and let it cure, and that's fine. Shouldn't be a problem to get unstuck. I've got more of these, a couple more. And then I've got a bigger one of these things, which I liked that thing, which I think it should still work. I'm going to put this cup somewhere else. Where did the other cup go? Oh, it's full of resin. Put that aside. I'm going to pop this little paddle guy in, and we'll do another batch with the 12. So the way this thing works, you just push the little paddle guy in there, and it works fine. It's ready to go again. So let's grab another mixing cup. And I like these TCP, I don't like the TCP Global cups, but I do like them for this because it's totally flat down in the bottom of these ones. The problem is these things, like basically, I find them to be pretty much one-time use, especially with epoxy. Epoxy's harder to get out of any of these cups, but these cups, if you're like squeezing it, they just tend to break. So the problem is they're almost like a one-use cup. So I don't really like them for that. But in this case, it's working fine, and I'm just going to have to deal with the fact that we're chucking it afterwards. Okay. So I'm not going to use the drill. I really liked the fact that I didn't have to do anything. This thing is kind of silly, but it worked pretty darn well, honestly. Like, you know, you got to scrape the sides, make sure you do a little bit of scraping on the sides and all that. But like, you just set it and forget it, and then you just got to restart it every once in a while. But it did a pretty good job mixing everything up. Like, so let me stop real quick here. Jim's in the house. It was about 35 minutes ago. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, like I said, I should have measured, like started the timer when I poured them together. That would have been smarter. But even still, at 80 degrees, it didn't even dawn on me that I got two giant cups, and I'm leaving a giant cup sitting there. There was no way. But even so, like if you broke I want to say that's somewhere around 500 to 600 grams of resin, if that makes any sense. It was 20 ounces in each one of those cups. Okay. If you broke the 20 ounces into a bunch of 1 ounce cups, like 20 1-ounce cups or something, or like 20, like 5 2-ounce cups or something like that, where it's a much thinner. Or another way to go is, instead of putting it in like a kind of a tall skinny cup where like it's a big mass, if you put the same amount of resin in something wider like this, it would spread it out more and thinner. So you would actually get a little bit more time in something large. Now the problem is doing that, this stuff is so like thick that a ton of it is going to end up, this is a much bigger surface area for it to get like stuck on. So I always find that it's a little harder to pour that way. I'd rather just put it in a cup. So just, back and forth. Like you gotta, there's pluses and minuses, and you have to kind of adjust things, your plans and all that kind of stuff, depending. And it probably helps to not try and do like 50 of them at once, like I just did. All right, so we're gonna make a beast mold of regular blanks. Now this one I think is gonna be a little bit more telling, because basically what we did was what I expected to do for the second pour anyway. It was at the end of the working time, right? So I think we're going to get pretty clumpy. I really wish I would have had time to stir that up a little bit. I think it's going to be kind of like a blobby blank. Still probably going to look fine. It's just not what I would wanted, But on this one, I want to get things ready and be a little bit more prepared. I want to mix that resin up, and when it's ready, I want to pour these things and see how that goes. So we will definitely be throwing in white. I don't need to do glow. I don't like glow powder. It makes the blanks more abrasive in the first place, and it's just, I got to be honest, it's not my favorite thing. But we're going to do white. What else did people say? Yamagata was thrown out there. I think we could do some of that. My navy blue was thrown out there. Is this brand new? I got one open already. Let me go grab that. So we're gonna do navy blue and red with white. And I'm gonna have to look. I know Ted covered every single color, so we could literally throw anything out there, but let's see what else people put out, tossed out there. I'm just looking to see if there's anything really cool that I should bring from my team color side of things. Not really. Nothing super spectacular. Okay, so we'll do more pearls. Let's see here. Yeah, so the gray pads are okay, yeah. So they're on a roll. We're on a roll. It comes on a roll. They're pretty good. I don't love, they're like slippery. That's the only problem with these things. They were really pretty cheap though. And they do a pretty good job of soaking up stuff. The only issue I would say is if you've got a pretty big blob, like it'll go through this stuff a little bit easier than the white ones did. And that's kind of because this one absorbs more, whereas the white ones really, I don't think we were absorbing anything. So I don't know, I'm on the fence. I still got the white ones left. I've still got a few of them. I don't know. I'd almost say that for resin, the white ones might be a little bit better, but like they were more expensive, I think. So I don't know. I think either way, they're fine. I think the like for most people, I think I would probably really actually I'd recommend getting these because these are way more useful around the house. Like they will do oil or water or whatever. Like if you ever need to use them for something else, this is going to be way more handy than this thing. If you have a lot of oil spills though, this one, that's what it's made for. So if you're somebody that does like, you know, works on your car more or something like that and oil spills are more common, then maybe just get this one, this type. And it might just be more useful outside of resin casting for you. But overall, they both work pretty much the same. I'm used to doing things like I mix the cups on this and it's pretty slippery. And so I'm a little worried that the cup might kind of slide more, you know, or spill. That's, I think, the main problem for me. It's just I'm used to the white one already and it's different. But they work fine. Little bit more, like I said, if you've got thinner resin and you've got like a really big blob of it, it can go through. But, you know, I have the silicone mats underneath, so it's not like a big deal for me. Yeah, they're absorbent. That's the problem I have is I have the silicone mats, but unless I'm going to be like, unless I have a ton of those things sitting around and I'm swapping those out, I like these because they're just disposable. And I'm doing so many rounds. I don't want a big mess sitting on a silicone mat like every time because I tend to put my hands down. You put the cups in it. I've literally knocked cups over because they got sticky on the bottom and then went on the scale. Like it just, I hate the mess. I don't want the mess. So I do kind of these things one at a time and just move them out of the way when they get nasty versus the silicone that just kind of protects everything. And it's more of a, again, if something goes through or I make a spill, the silicone mat kind of cleans up most of the stuff that way. But I don't just use that. So, you know, it depends on how often you're doing stuff. I could just employ a ton of these silicone mats and just swap those out. That would be literally the same exact thing. So it's up to you how you want to do things like that. It's a little ridiculous having like two different things like that for me, but you know, that's what I do. Let's see here. All right, so let's get things rolling here. Get our little epoxy out. Luckily, you know, like this little, you know, for most people, I think 1 gallon of, so it's 2 half-gallon jugs, right? Like this is a pretty decent amount of resin. And that was only, again, like I was looking at the price. The reason I bought this stuff was I was like, wow, that's cheap. How does it work? Because I was thinking already about using like ACC plus and that works. Again, it's very similar. It's thick and I got pretty good results just pouring that for the team colors without really getting any bleed. And I'm like, well, it would be the exact same thing. And then I randomly saw this, so I was like curious. I wanted to look into, I saw one of their Instagram posts and they're like, oh, we're making new resin. And then I looked at the price and I'm like, wait a minute, that's like way cheaper than Alumilite. So I was like, let's try it and see what's going on. So I bought the, let's see, Amazing Clear Cast. Let me go back to their website, the eye candy one. Go to the tabletop. I don't know if the deep pour, I got to look at the deep pour. What's the price on their deep pour? Go there, come on. Oh, that's interesting. So it's still cheaper, but let's see. The deep pour is $250 for 3 gallons. And that compares to Alumilite's deep pour at $3 gallons is, wow, $384, $385. So it's, wow. It's like $100 cheaper than Alumilite's deep pour. I mean, that's kind of hard to argue. If this stuff does similar stuff, like why would you spend an extra $100? I love Alumilite, but good Lord, like $100 more? It's pretty rough. But for this tabletop stuff, like I don't think that, let's see, what is the, hold on a minute. I want to look at the eye candy deep pour. What's the working time on that? 50 to 70 minutes. It's not that bad. Alumilite's deep pour is like 2 hours. I mean, that's not that bad. The 2-to-1 mix ratio, factor that in. But I mean, it could be viable. I don't know how thin it is. So again, if you're looking for something that's not going to bleed as much, I don't know that the deep pour is really, that's why I didn't do it. I had a very specific thing. The thicker, nature of it should kind of keep things from really trying to bleed. Now, with mica powders, there is absolutely no bleeding going on with Alumilite Clear Slow. The only reason I'm looking at this is because when you start throwing a bunch of these liquid resins, or I mean liquid dyes, whatever, liquid pigments together, and certain ones tend to want to bleed, and then you've got like high temperatures, it just makes things kind of harder. Now, I've figured out the problem. I'm having no problems with it at all. But I was like, well, is it something I should try out? I like to know things. I like to know how things work. So, but the deep pour, if you're doing like a river table, man, it's pretty cheap. And I don't know what the quality is or anything like that. So who knows, but that's not too bad. So if you wanted to get a gallon of the tabletop, what we're doing here, the 1 gallon kit is only $65. Again, that's why I was like, well, I'm not really even I'm not crying. Like I didn't spend that much money on that last pour. I didn't waste that much money. So I don't know. I mean, if you're like, if you're interested in trying a different resin out, like, I don't know how it compares to like Total Boat or I don't know what everybody's prices are. I've just been comparing it to the Alumilite prices, and man, I mean, we're talking like half price. That's crazy. So, yeah, wax is a good way to do that too. Let's see here to keep your work surface good. Okay, so let's get going here. Let's quit messing around. So we're gonna do Yamagata, navy blue, white, and let me see, what's my favorite new color? Red. Oh, we should throw in an interference color. What do you guys think about that? Let's do interference violet. That's it. We're gonna do it. So we got 4 colors. Again, this thing's about 550 grams, so it should be pretty close to what we're mixing up, 20 ounces. It's about in the ballpark of that, I think. So number 2, we're doing Beast. Let's see, so it's about 550 or so. We're doing 20 ounces, 10 ounces times 2. And we've got, let's see, so we're basically doing about the same thing. So about 140 in each cup. I don't know, I kind of want another color. Somebody throw out a color. Maybe do gold. I think somebody said Olympic gold. Throw that in there. Maybe we'll do you think gold? Actually, we're gonna call an audible here. We're gonna go with this is a color shift. I think that'll be cool. Let's do a color shift powder. Okay, so we got Yamagata. This one's like a purple to teal color, I think. Or blue, maybe blue teal, something like that. Yamagata, we're doing, let's see, so we're going to do 5 colors, so that'll be 100, 550, 110. We're going to do 110 in each cup. Let's see here, interference violet, and 110. So we're still going to do a half teaspoon of these. We're going to do Color Lab Navy, and let's see, 110. We're going to do 3 grams in there, I think. 3.3. What else we got? We got the Peacock. Color shift. Half teaspoon. 1 drop of violet. I like putting a drop of violet with this one. And then we're going to do white. 1.4 grams. Okay. We got a plan. We got a plan. I don't have SMC green, actually. Fortunately. Okay. 110. Let's see. I'm going to keep the same size cup. That'll also kind of keep things... I'm not worried about things heating up because I'm going to be prepped and ready, and you know, we're just going to... When that resin looks ready, like, we're going for it. We're not messing around this time, okay? And it's still going to be thick. Like, you know, I want to make sure. And then, let's see, I'm going to use a stir stick thing. I'm going to use one just with the little hook. So we need to add that information. Pour. Immediate. Stick. Okay. Got some notes in there. Okay, let me grab my cup. And again, I'd like to know if there's a weight measurement. It's just way easier for me. It's easier for me to calculate things and estimate how much resin I need. All those things. So I'll see if I can get that information from them. Okay, so I don't need a... I mean, I guess I can put this on the scale and kind of sort of estimate. So zeroed out, let's go to 10. I'm going to mark it because it's just so much better if I mark it. 10 ounces and 20 ounces. Okay, so I know what I'm doing. So let's see where this kind of gets us. Oh, thick. Oh my God. Oh, I don't want to get too out of control here. All right, so I'm getting way down, looking at this line. That's about there. So we're looking at like 359. Let's just call it 360. That's making a weird noise. Okay, so we got our A. It's about 360 grams, let's say. I'm just keeping a track to see what it kind of... we can kind of get an idea of what... You could do this. It's better to ask the manufacturer and get a specific number because, like I said, these lines are not super awesome in these kind of cheap cups. We got our part B. So I'm going to get down again. And that might have crept up a little over that line. It might be closer to like 350 is the actual number. Might have just... we might have been right. but sometimes the edges, like the, what do they call that? Or stuff creeps up the side. So that's looking like I don't know, 280, 290. Yeah, I don't think it's, I think we need to add a little bit more. Yeah, I would say like maybe 290 is the number on that one. But we're doing that. Did those numbers come out right? 360 and 290. Let's see, what is that? Like a 1.24 to 1 ratio, something like that. I don't know. We'll have to see if we can get the true information for my candy. Maybe like a 1.2 to 1. I could see that. Okay, so let's get our little machine going. What do you guys think? I love this little machine. It's so funny. Look at that thing go. Oh, it's making the cup spin a little bit. Look at that sucker. I don't even have to do anything. All right, so while we got our assistant, while my assistant mixes the resin, and that bigger paddle is doing even better, I would say. We are going to put a half teaspoon of all these. Oh God, things are flying. Do this. Do a little Yamagata. I said half teaspoons, right? Yeah. Half teaspoon of Yamagata. Just get things rolling. Half teaspoon of interference. I need some more interference violet. That's for certain. Color shift. Eight, 7, 6, 5. I have to restart it soon. There we go. So it does 90-second intervals, I guess. I don't know. I didn't read the directions or anything, so there may be a way to just leave it running. That one's done. Okay. And then 1.4 with the white. I'm telling you, I'm digging this little mixing stand. Pretty cool. Okay. All right, so this time I'm like ready. Let's roll. Got the stuff ready. This one's gonna go a lot smoother, I think. All right, I'm gonna take this thing off and I'm gonna, ooh. It's a little underpowered. But I think, I don't think that's like actually a negative. It's meant to do that because it does its job quite well. I hope it's off. It doesn't create a bunch of bubbles. Like I'm making a lot more bubbles messing around doing all this stuff. So like for the market that this thing is really marketed to, this would be for like your oh, Sorry. I thought I figured something out, but I didn't. Okay, sorry. I was paying attention to that little machine. I think we're about done. So it does 90-second intervals, and I mean, I think most people would probably tell you to mix epoxy for like, I don't know, like somewhere between 2 minutes and like 5 minutes. Somewhere in that range is probably what the manufacturer, I don't, maybe they even say in the eye candy. Mixing note. Okay, well, they say 5 to 8 minutes. I don't think I'm going to waste 10 minutes mixing the epoxy. I don't think you need to do that. That will definitely guarantee that it's mixed up, but I think that we're okay. So, you know, 90 minutes. We did 130, 130. So it's like 3. If you do, like if you did 3 cycles with this little machine, like I mean, I think it's fine. As long as you scrape the edges and all that kind of stuff. That should probably be good. So let's give it one more. I don't know how many we've done. I'm going to give it one more. That's fine. And it should be fine. I don't know. Yeah, it is kind of whirlpooly. Let's see here. No, you can't. It's not a matter of how, like, ounces versus grams. It's not a weight thing. So there's two. It's totally different. Weight versus volume. I want to make sure everybody understands this. When I'm saying like ounces on my little cup, it doesn't have grams. I don't know. Maybe it does. It's not obvious that it's grams or whatever. You're looking at amounts. So volume just means amount of resin in the cup. 2 of the same amounts, okay? The problem is you could technically have part A being this much and part B being this much, and they weigh the same, right? So because they can have 2 different specific gravities, like it weighs more, the part B or the A or, you know, whatever. If it's a 1-to-1 mix ratio by volume, if the A and B do not weigh the exact same amount or have the same specific gravity, if you did it on a scale, it would be thrown way off. Your ratio would not work. So what I need is a conversion. It's going to be something like 1.2 to 1 is going to be the weight if you're doing it by like mass, you know, or whatever. Is that correct? But, you know, using a scale method, it's gonna not be it's not gonna be 1-to-1. That 1-to-1 ratio only applies to doing it with a mixing cup, you know. So what I'm looking at is on the side here, these numbers 10 and 20. It just worked out to be about the right amount. Now this one does actually have grams. It wouldn't matter though. It has nothing to do with that exactly. Now, can I probably just be like, oh, because the way that I ended up getting that mixture amount was based on, well, I usually use by weight this many grams, and so I just kind of converted it. It's gonna be pretty close to the same, but you can't just be like, now maybe what you're saying is I could just take the cup and stick it on the scale and see how much is in there, which is kind of what I did. But I, in my head, kind of converted about how much I need, if that's what the direction you were going with that question. Oh, that doesn't work. Stop. Stop. Okay. I just flung epoxy everywhere. That didn't really work. I think I'm just going to stick this thing in a different cup because there, just put it on that thing. Okay. So we're doing 110 in each one. Hopefully that made sense. It's hard. It's very confusing, I know. The main thing I want to make sure everybody understands is that if you have to read the directions for whatever resin you bought, don't just assume, even if it says Alumilite, Alumilite sells tons of different resins. Alumilite is a company. It's not a specific resin. And so on and so forth. There's lots of different, resins out there for each one usually. But make sure before you start doing anything, unless you've already used that resin before, okay, you know for sure you got the right one and everything's the same. But I would recommend that you just read. They should send you instructions with every resin that you buy. Read them and make sure you understand. Is the mix ratio by weight or volume? And if it says by weight, again, don't be doing it by volume. It's not going to work out. People get kind of like freaked out if you buy Alumilite Clear Slow. There's significantly less Part B in the jug, so it looks like it's like 2 gallons, but they don't do it by gallons. It's a 16-pound kit for like two 1 gallon jugs of this stuff, but the Part B is significantly less than the Part A because it weighs more than the Part A. And you're doing it by weight. So just, like I said, I just want to make sure everybody knows what's going on, because that is one of the biggest things. Like, people are like, I don't know, the resin doesn't work. And then it turns out that they were mixing it wrong. They were doing it by weight or whatever, and they bought like another one. If you buy Amazing Clear Cast or Amazing Clear Cast Plus, the epoxy from Alumilite, some people have bought it. This one's a big one, because a lot of people, you can get that stuff sometimes at like Hobby Lobby, and people will be like, oh, Alumilite. And they don't know what they're doing, and they just pick up this bottle of Alumilite, but it's Amazing Clear Cast, not Alumilite Clear Slow. And I know this is all confusing and weird, but that's just what we're dealing with. And so they buy that, and then they pull out their scale and start mixing with it, or mixing it up, and it doesn't work because it's not 1-to-1 by weight. It's 1-to-1 by volume. And it'll mess up the cure of that resin. Yeah, you got to do it by taste. That's true. Yeah, a lot of times what ends up happening if you don't do it right, it'll be like sticky, like it doesn't really cure. It could maybe overheat or do something, but I mean, there's going to be a noticeable problem, like typically. Sometimes they're like so close that, again, like a lot of epoxies, I mean, it can't possibly be that if you're like, 0.001% off, it's going to throw it off, because you're literally, the line is so thick. Oh, I didn't switch to this view. The line has dimension to it. That's why I don't like the volume thing. It's not that accurate. It doesn't have to be, but I would much rather just be accurate with this stuff. The scale doesn't really lie. Like, even if your scale is like off a little bit, it's probably going to be consistently off. So if you weigh two things, like, it's not going to throw you off completely. Whereas, like, you could have a bad cup. Like, a lot of things that are made in China or whatever, it's not even so much that it's made in China. It's just the fact that, we say things like that, and it's made in a factory that doesn't have very good quality control because they're making cheap products. And if you get one of those and the lines are messed up or something, it's not accurate, then, it can throw stuff off a little bit. Just let me use my scale. It's a good one. Huh. Oh, did I do this? Oh, shoot. I think I did the wrong. Dang it. I put it in the wrong cup, guys. Well, we're not going to have interference violet. We're going to have violet. And let's put green in this one then. since I screwed that up. The green looks pretty cool too. Whoops. Why I should label cups. So we're going to change things up a little bit. It would have looked a little different, but whatever. I want to make sure that I get this stuff mixed in real well. And then we're just going to have at it. We're going to go for the pour. Because this stuff is like super thick, give it a little, give it a little extra stir time to get your dyes and mica powders like fully mixed together. It may look like everything's good, but like there may be like a huge chunk because it's so globby that isn't mixed in, and it's just, you can't really see it from the surface. But you'll know when you pour it, there's like this clear spot. So just make sure you've given it a little bit of extra time and you'll be good to go. Okay, so let's do this. We're gonna pull out the little L stick. I'm gonna have that ready. I didn't do the timer because I don't really care. We're gonna be under the time limit for sure. All right, let's do this. Still think, even though I screwed up the color combination that I was going for, I think this is gonna look pretty cool. I think it's gonna be a fun one. One thing with these thicker resins like this, again, mica powders don't tend to bleed a whole lot. You don't really need to worry so much about like color bleed when you're dealing with micas. And so if all you're doing, if you were doing a whole thing with just micas, one thing that can get you a little bit more, instead of it being a little bit more on the blobby side, to get it a little bit smoother is to like pour thinner and higher. And you can get a little bit more of that kind of swirl action. You know, like where it's a little swirlier, like it was thinner when you poured it. So just get up a little higher and pour it thinner. And it should kind of get a little bit more like penetration rather than just kind of sit on top totally. You might be able to get it to kind of break through the surface if you're pouring. The main thing is like pouring from a higher point, you know. But also sometimes like a thinner strand can kind of mix together a little bit more. I think that's maybe kind of more theoretical, actually. But I think it should work that way. I don't have a whole lot of experience with pouring thick resin and trying to get color swirls, but we are going to use that stick. So I mean, it's going to look fine. It'll be swirly still. Another suggestion, again, because this stuff just is so thick and a lot of it just clumps to the side of the cup, you might want to mix up more resin than you would normally mix up with just like Alumilite, with a thinner resin, because there's going to be a lot more. It's harder to get out of the cup, basically. So you're going to either have to spend a lot of time scraping and messing around, or just I recommend just mixing more up, because I think no matter how long you sit there and scrape, you could end up kind of being a little bit short. basically, unless you like literally spend 10 minutes scraping the cup and waiting for it to drizzle out. All right, so we estimated pretty well. I even actually had a little bit left over. I mean, like a pretty decent amount is left over in this cup. So 20 ounces is more than enough, I would say, for this mold. See what I mean? Like I'm at the end and I'm like sitting here messing with scraping and doing all this stuff to get like a little blob out. It's just kind of a pain. Like, especially if this, I mean, this stuff is like half the price of like Alumilite. You know, scrape. It just, it doesn't flow out at the end like that, you know. I would be willing to just waste a little bit and move on with my life. I want to get this thing nice and full, up to the brim there. I think that's good. We got a couple that need a little bit more. Got some more white. I'm just gonna make sure that we've gotten everything covered real well, and then we'll go for our stick here. I like to get my fingers a little bit wet right there. Again, the top's going to look terrible, but it shouldn't be all gross on the inside. It should be kind of swirly. We'll have to see, I guess, but it should look nice on the inside. It's just because I'm kind of pulling up all these colors and then dropping them all like it's a dirty pour on the top. But I'm not doing that in the middle of the blank. So that went pretty smoothly. I don't know how long that took, but I mean, it's, you know, it's not overheating or doing anything. I'm not worried at all. You got plenty of time, but you know, because I got to sit there and mess around with mixing for a long time, like this is like a drawback, I would say, to these epoxies is, and one of the big reasons I don't use them. It sounds all neat. You're like, oh, I got like 30 minutes of working time, but yeah, but you got to mix it for 5 or 10 minutes, and things tend to take a little bit longer because it's so thick in some cases. So, you know, it's not all like it's good to know like what's really going on. Sometimes there's trade-offs to get more time. Sounds great, but it's not, you're not getting 30 to 40 minutes necessarily of like working time because you have to give up other things. You have to give some time because it's kind of a pain, right? But that was pretty comfortable. I was working just, you know, not worried. I wasn't rushed. And you know, the big advantage I would say is it's pretty warm in the shop, 81 degrees, you know, and other people have even hotter shops, really. The longer working time and all that kind of stuff, I mean, compared to like Alumilite Clear, slow, that might be something you maybe just employ that when it's like super hot in your shop, you know. That might be a way to go. I think so. Let's talk about if it was winter right now and it was 68 in my shop. This would be an absolute nightmare to work with. I would not want to work with this stuff in the winter because it would be even thicker. So one thing you can do is you can actually heat up the jugs to make it a little bit easier to work with if it was cold in your shop. So that can help. Looks like something broke on my live stream. That's weird. Everybody still there? I think one of the problems that I have is like I'm using Google Chrome, and I think I need to quit using Chrome because it sucks. I think it's just wrecking. I have too many tabs open and it falls apart, and it's silly. But anyway, so like I said, you can get like those little reptile heating pad things, and heat up the resin, and that can kind of help out if it is cold or cooler in your shop. To even if it's warm, I mean, I could technically stick the jugs on, here. It's even though it's 80, I could heat that stuff up even higher, and it would thin it out even more. So you're not always just stuck with what you've got. Let's say you could make it a little bit thinner and still kind of, now if you heat up the resin significantly, it's going to also reduce the amount of working time that you have if you preheat it, basically. So again, trade-offs with things. Okay, so what do you guys think? Anybody like really thinking about YouTube is not receiving? You got to be kidding me. I get really annoyed with that. Has anybody had any issues with the stream cutting in and out or doing anything weird? Because I changed all my settings. Things should be running pretty smoothly. I think it's Chrome. I think Chrome is stupid, and I need to just not use Chrome when I'm streaming. Use like Opera or something like that. Let's see here. They were nice enough to put the disclaimer on the cups. Yeah, not accurate. Yep. And I pretty much all of these, I mean, they say for mixing purposes only. They don't even say it's not accurate. They're like, oh, it's for mixing purposes, which means it's not accurate. There are things that would be calibrated more accurate, probably. I'm guessing some, but they'd probably cost way more than you're gonna for doing what we do. So, I'm not saying, again, these are accurate enough. I'm not worried that these are gonna come out weird. It's close enough. But me personally, I'd rather just give me the stupid weight numbers. It's easier. It hiccuped a couple times, yeah. Might be because I've got quite a few tabs open on Chrome. I use Chrome. I could probably just get rid of Chrome, but it's easier for me to chat on Chrome, even though my thing's got a chat window somehow, but I've never used it. How does that work? While we're sitting here, I'm just going to look at chat. I'm going to see how this, oh. The other thing is I can just quickly go, and it's already open. I can go get something, but yeah. Oh, sign into chat. It literally pulls the chat. So I don't know, I might start doing that and see if anything changes. I can also look at, there's some stats and analytics and different stuff that I can look at. So I don't know. Let's see here. Yeah, you can get glass beakers. Solid stream. Yeah, so the problem is it's hard to ask people because your internet may be causing it, not mine. Who knows? But I'm getting little stupid warnings and all these things. Now it says it's fine. I don't know. I think Google Chrome is crap, is what it is. So, all right. So anyway, what I was going to ask is anybody like, oh, maybe I'll try that out. I'm kind of intrigued. Like I said, I like Alumilite Clear Slow for some specific reasons. It has a lot of benefits. One of the drawbacks to this is I got to leave these things in for sure overnight. Like these pressure pots are taken up now. Whereas typically I tend to leave in the Alumilite Clear Slow even overnight sometimes, but technically you should be able to pull that in about 4 hours, maybe 6 at the worst. But especially if it's 80 degrees, 4 hours should be fine for pen blanks like that. I find it's a little bit easier to demold them if I just wait overnight. They get a little harder. The tops tend to kind of be still sticky if you're pulling them at 4 hours. So overnight, everything's pretty fully hardened up and they come out a little bit easier, I find. But, you know, so these things, if I tried to pull them in like 8 hours, they'd probably still be a little bit sticky. And I'm going to wait overnight and they're still going to be soft. Like you can easily dent the top with your fingernail. So, you know, again, these things are going to take a little bit longer. I don't know that I'd really trust that they only have a 72-hour cure time. To me, that's a little shaky, like full cure. I would say 5 to 7 days is kind of more typical for most epoxies. Maybe they've got some, you know, fancy chemistry going on, but I think that for full cure, which means like as hard as it's gonna get, 5 to 7 days is probably more realistic for this stuff. So I don't know. Chris is gonna maybe try it. Yeah, well, so yeah. Yeah, I don't really like messing around. Like I know I like what I like. I don't think you're gonna have to. So Vinny's statement, the whole point of this is I don't think you need to worry about times and temps. With this, the tabletop version, the thick version, I think out of the gate you can probably just pour this stuff and you're fine. There's no messing around. Like just mix it up, get everything ready, and then just pour it. There's no need to wait for it to get thicker. The one thing though is, even with these, if it is thicker and you've got this 30-minute working time, my only concern is they can still move around. Like this stuff is still liquid. The ones that I just put in, it's going to be liquid probably for another 10 minutes. So things can move heavier. You know, that white dye could move around a little bit more possibly. It just depends on how thick it is, if it'll keep it in place. So we'll have to see how that turned out. But yeah, so, and Chris might give it a try. Yeah, you know, like, well, I don't know if I'd do it for dice. Again, if you're going to do something like that, I would probably go with liquid diamonds or something else that's thinner. I think well, I don't know. It depends on what you're doing, and how you're doing it, but I'm not sure that I wouldn't choose this for dice. Because it's going to be harder to set down in that mold, those small molds, and fill all the spaces, I think. I'm not an expert at doing things like that, but I don't know. Yeah, the big question, I guess, is how does it turn and polish? That's really, really the big deal for me. Because if it turns terrible and it doesn't polish up nice, then none of this is worth it. I'm certainly not going to be making the team color blanks with this stuff. So anyway, all right, guys. So again, don't forget, no stream next Saturday or the next one. For 2 more weeks. But this Wednesday, Chad and Amy are going to be in town, and we're going to be streaming from my shop on their channel. Okay, so we're just kind of switching. This week, I'm just switching to Wednesday, but I'm not actually broadcasting from my YouTube channel. It's going to be on the Turner's TV channel only. Okay, and we're just doing a collaboration stream. The following week, though, what I'm going to try to do is just switch days maybe, but I may have to just not do it because I'm doing kind of a big project that needs to be done within a week for my parents, and so it just depends, but I'll let you guys know one way or the other. Either I will have set it up for like Sunday maybe, or I'll let you know like, okay, we're going to be off until next week, you know. So anyway, I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend, rest of the weekend, and hopefully you're doing some fun stuff in the shop or doing something fun, you know, outside of the shop. Summer's always good, you know. I know a lot of people are kind of out of their shops in the summer because like there's a lot of stuff to do. So either way, either if you're in the shop or out doing some fun stuff, hopefully you're having a good time. So anyway, guys, thanks for joining the fun. And I will see you guys on Wednesday while we have guests in the shop. And again, like I said, that's going to be on the Turner's TV channel, and it's at 4 p.m. Pacific time. I think that's correct. It's already up and ready, so you can go check out their channel to see. So anyway, guys.